My audience. Thank you. If everyone knew, can you lift it up a little bit more? My head's cut off. Thank, a little bit more. Thank you. That's good. If everyone knew the characteristics of dictators, then they would know that Donald Trump is a dictator. I'm Jayson Gorrell. I'm an EMT and aspiring CRNA, but most importantly, I'm a history buff. I chose to speak about history because I believe the past is the perfect way to analyze the present. First, I'm going to speak about Donald Trump, some of his actions and remarks. Second, I'm going to speak about dictators of the past and their actions. And third, I'm going to relate the two. Donald Trump has many personality faults, but the similarities between his actions and those of the past are impossible to ignore. A self-coup is a popular way for dictators to remain in power. A self-coup is whenever someone utilizes their power or influence in order to impede or stop another branch of government. On January 6th, an insurrection occurred, and Donald Trump incited this insurrection. And during a presidential debate before the protest, Trump was asked to admonish white supremacists and specifically the Proud Boys. Trump stated, "Stand back and stand by." The Proud Boys used this as a rallying cry. So when he made tweets such as, "Big protest on January 6th, stop the steal, be there, will be wild," the Proud Boys intended to be there and they intended to stop the steal. Aside from coups, his scapegoating of immigrants via his rhetoric and spreading of misinformation is one way that he resembles dictators of the past. He's been quoted saying things like, "They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing their problems with them. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people." Trump's rhetoric is misleading. It sounds like he's implying that majority of immigrants are criminals and rapists, when in reality, dozens of studies have shown that immigrants commit crimes at a far lower rate than the American public. He's also been quoted talking about Arabic immigrants saying, "We have no idea who they are. They want to come into our country. They may be ISIS. They may be the greatest Trojan horse of all time. Who knows?" The ambiguous nature of this language is on purpose. Trump is attempting to utilize the fear of the American public for outsiders in order to garner support for anti-immigration policies like his. Trump will do and say whatever he must to gain and retain power. Dictators and fascist governments of the past have used the same steps and tools that Trump has used in order to gain control of their populations. Adolf Hitler utilized a self-coup in 1933. A governmental building burned down, and he quickly blamed the communists and sent a bill to the president using his influence, convinced the president to sign the bill and give him more power and unchecked power. Utilizing this power, he not only ruthlessly suppressed the communist opposition and anyone who opposed his government, but he also appointed supporters of his to governmental positions that he needed to enact the next bill, which would give him complete control, dictatorial control over Germany. Adolf's coup was the same as Trump's. The only difference is that Adolf succeeded and Trump failed. Trump attempted to use his influence in order to stop and impede the congressional counting of the vote. Scapegoats are another popular tool for that dictators use in order to garner support for laws and violent acts towards immigrants and whoever else that they scapegoat. In 1965, in Indonesia, after a failed coup attempt, communists were labeled as the perpetrators of the crime. A large violent retaliation occurred. Not only were communists targeted, but the ire turned to anyone who opposed the government. People like atheists, all leftists, unbelievers, unionists, and any sympathizer in the mix was put to the sword. In the end, 1 to 3 million people died. And also, an authoritarian government ran by President Suharto reigned for 32 years. They killed all those people in fear of what government they would have. In the end, they were still had an authoritarian government. Trump's usage of fear for the opposition or for outsiders, aka immigrants or transgender people coming for your children, or leftists trying to indoctrinate your children, are all examples of scapegoating used by President Trump. His slogan, "Make America Great Again," implies that America is not great now, but his language about immigrants implies that they are the culprits, and he will deal with them accordingly. There's been a plethora of unprecedented events in recent history, but I will no longer be shocked by the events occurring today, but I will look to the past for what's to come. First, I spoke about actions and remarks that President Trump has made. Then I spoke about actions of the past. And lastly, I related the two and talked about how they could snowball into acts of violence and unprecedented laws. History has shown us cautionary tales for us to avoid, but it also shows us avenues for success. History has the roadmap for which we need to navigate the present.